Flipping today, a Pine Belt man is in custody, charged in the death of his wife. Welcome in, I'm Keandra Malloy. We know now she was found with an apparent gunshot wound after her vehicle crashed into a building yesterday. Now take a look at your screen. This is 50-year-old Kenrod Eccles of Columbia. He has been charged with first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and malicious mischief. That's in connection to the death of 36-year-old Sequoia Johnson Eccles. The Hattiesburg Police Department says Kenrod and Sequoia were married. Lamar County Coroner confirms Sequoia's identity last night and says her body is being sent to the Mississippi State Crime Lab in Biloxi.
October 26, 2024, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It was a quiet morning in the hub city. Overcast skies, the kind that hang heavy without warning. People were brewing coffee, preparing for another ordinary Saturday. But for Sequoia Johnson Eccles, that morning held a darkness no one could have predicted. At just 36 years old, Sequoia's life came to a brutal, unthinkable end, not at the hands of a stranger in a dark alley, but in a place far more chilling, her own home. Her final moments were spent not screaming, not fighting, but bleeding out behind the wheel of her car, desperate, panicked, trying to survive. To those who knew her, Sequoia was light. Born in Foxworth, Mississippi, she was the kind of woman people remembered. A nurse, a mother, a wife, her energy was contagious. Her laugh could pull a room out of silence. Her children were her world. Every sacrifice she made, every long night shift, every dollar saved, was for them. But behind the warmth was a storm waiting to break. Sequoia had been married to Kenrod Cardez Eccles, a 50-year-old man from Columbia, Mississippi. To outsiders, their relationship looked stable: travel photos, affectionate captions, matching outfits at family gatherings. Their life, at least online, appeared enviable. But social media is a liar. Because behind that curated perfection was something far more sinister: control, jealousy, and a quiet kind of rage that doesn't make noise until it explodes. Days before her death, a video began circulating, a clip of Sequoia dancing with a man who wasn't her husband. There was no intimacy, no malice, just movement, rhythm, joy. But to Kenrod, it was treason. To him, it wasn't a dance. It was betrayal. Proof of something he'd been obsessing over for days. That video would become the trigger. The final crack in a relationship already fracturing. It wasn't about love. It was about power. When the confrontation came, it was explosive. Kenrod was already unraveling. He demanded her phone. He shouted. He accused. Sequoia, exhausted from years of holding the peace, refused. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She stood her ground. But standing your ground can be dangerous, when the man across from you sees defiance as disrespect. Kenrod. You think you can just do whatever you want? You are mine. Do you hear me? Sequoia. I'm not doing this with you, Ken. It was just a dance. It wasn't just a dance anymore. In that moment, something inside Kenrod snapped. He reached for his gun. And in a flash of fury and fear, he pulled the trigger. The bullet tore through Sequoia's abdomen. But she didn't collapse. Not immediately. She clutched her stomach, her breath caught in her throat. Adrenaline took over. She bolted. Staggering to her car, leaving a trail of blood behind her, Sequoia drove. Driven not by logic, but instinct. Survival. She was losing blood. Fast. Her vision blurred. Her breaths shallow. The streets of Hattiesburg blurred around her. Then came the crash. At 10 a.m. The Hattiesburg Police Department received a call. A vehicle had slammed into a security fence on Park Place Avenue.
This is the video of the scene on Park Place Avenue where HPD says officers responded to a report of a vehicle crashing into a building Saturday morning. Now, originally, Hattiesburg police said Sequoia was found unresponsive in her vehicle and pronounced dead on the scene. Today, HPD confirmed she was found unresponsive with an apparent gunshot wound to her abdomen. Authorities say Kid Rod contacted them shortly after her body was found, admitting to his involvement in the shooting.
When officers arrived, they found Sequoia slumped over the steering wheel. Lifeless. Blood pooled around her. A single gunshot wound to the abdomen. What looked like a tragic car crash was, in truth, a murder scene. When officers reached the wreckage, what they found was not a routine accident. The fence was crushed, metal twisted inward. But the damage to the vehicle told only part of the story. Inside, they found a woman, unresponsive. Her body slumped forward. A closer look revealed the truth, a gunshot wound to her abdomen. Blood had soaked into the seat, staining everything around her. She hadn't just crashed. She'd been trying to survive. Sequoia Johnson Eccles was pronounced dead at the scene. 36 years old. A mother. A nurse. A woman who had just been dancing hours before, unaware her life was about to be ripped apart. The Hattiesburg Police Department confirmed they responded to a report of a vehicle that had crashed into a structure near Park Place Avenue around 10 a.m. When they arrived, they discovered a portion of the security fence had been knocked down, and a driver inside the vehicle, unresponsive. She was already gone. What followed turned tragedy into horror. Because this wasn't just a terrible accident. It wasn't the result of reckless driving or a medical emergency behind the wheel. It was deliberate. And it came from someone she trusted. Not long after officers arrived on scene, a man contacted authorities. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He confessed. "I shot her. I'm the one you're looking for." That man was 50-year-old Kenrod Cardez Eccles, Sequoia's husband. He admitted to the killing. Sequoia hadn't crashed by accident. She had been trying to save her own life, wounded, desperate, attempting to get to the hospital before it was too late. But the damage was already done. Kenrod was taken into custody. He now faced the most serious charges imaginable, first-degree murder. But the list didn't stop there. He was also charged with tampering with evidence, witness tampering, and malicious mischief, a pattern of criminal behavior that painted a clear, disturbing portrait.
Another update out of Hattiesburg. Bond is set for a man investigators say admitted to his wife's murder over the weekend. She was found dead inside a vehicle in Hattiesburg over the weekend. 50-year-old Kenrod Cardez Eccles had his bond set at $800,000 during his initial appearance in Hattiesburg Municipal Court today. He faces 3 charges: first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and malicious mischief. His wife, Sequoia Johnson Eccles, was found dead around 10 a.m. Saturday on Park Place Avenue. She was in a vehicle that had crashed into a building there.
This wasn't a moment of temporary madness. This was methodical. Calculated. Meanwhile, the Lamar County coroner, Blake Mathern, began the next phase in uncovering the full truth behind Sequoia's death. Her body was sent to the Mississippi State Crime Lab in Biloxi for a comprehensive forensic examination. No detail would be left unchecked. The Hattiesburg Police Department confirmed their investigation was ongoing. More information would be released as the case progressed. Sequoia's identity was confirmed, and the community, friends, neighbors, strangers, began to mourn. She was gone. Just like that. A woman full of life. A mother. A nurse. Taken by the one person who should have protected her the most. All of it, over a dance. The pain didn't end with the crash. It spread like wildfire, through her family, her children, her friends, her entire community. And the question hung over everyone like a fog: how could something this senseless, this brutal, happen? It wasn't just the loss of a mother. It was the way she was taken. Sequoia was not just a victim. She was a woman who had lived with intention, who had loved with every ounce of herself. Her children were her universe. And now, that universe had been shattered, without warning, without mercy. In my eyes there's no one that can equal your beauty, mama. Nothing will ever lessen my love for you, now and for eternity. A child's words. Pure. Heartbreaking. They now stood in the ashes of a life stolen by rage. Anger surged in the community. Shock. Disbelief. How does something like this happen, over a dance? But that was the truth that couldn't be ignored. A video. A moment. A simple act of dancing with someone who wasn't her husband. That's all it took to ignite the dark undercurrent of jealousy and control that had long been simmering. This wasn't about infidelity. There was no concrete proof of betrayal. No evidence of anything beyond a moment of movement and music. But to Kenrod Eccles, that moment was enough. Enough to confront her. Enough to demand control. Enough, ultimately, to kill. Her defiance wasn't loud, but it was firm. She refused to give in. She refused to be dominated. But control wasn't just what Kenrod wanted, it was what he believed he deserved. And when he didn't get it, he chose violence. Her community, Hattiesburg, now bears the mark of another name added to a growing list of victims of domestic violence. This wasn't just a story about jealousy. It was about control. Rage. Silence. The silence before the gunshot. The silence after the crash. The silence left in the lives Sequoia touched. This is where we leave you, for now. If this story shook you, you're not alone. If you found this story gripping, hit that like button. Subscribe. And turn on the bell so you never miss a case. Because the next story might be even darker.